guys, this is Maths with Dan, and today we're going to look at simplifying. In today's lesson, we're going to look over different rules, different exam questions, and certain things they could ask you in the exam. For any sort of private tuition lessons, just go into the description, you'll see my email, reach out to me, and then just get in contact with me. And hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So starting off, we have the rules. These are the simplifying rules. I'd recommend you guys make a note of these, as we will be referring to them as we go through the lesson, and in terms of what we're going to do with each question. For example, with rule 1, if there's a multiplication, you have to add the powers if the letters are the same. So let's say it's the same sort of letter, s to the power 3 times s to the power 4, that would be s to the power of 7. The next one is if there is a division, minus the powers if the letters are the same. Therefore, if there's a division sign, then you minus the powers up at the top. Number 3, if there's anything to the power of 0, it is 1. So 7 to the power of 0 is 1. And anything to the power of a negative is 1 over that answer. So I'd recommend pausing it now and writing these down, as we will be going through these as we go along. So as you can see in question 1, this refers to rule 1. It says simplify x to the power of 8 times x to the power of 3. So going back to rule 1, if it's a multiplication, you have to add the powers. So 8 plus 3 equals 11. So that is x to the power of 11. And then moving on to, I'll just write it down for you guys to see. It's because they are both x. For example, if it was x and y, you wouldn't be able to do that. It's because they were the same letters that you're then able to add the powers because of rule 1. Moving on to the next question is 5y to the power of 3. You can see here, if something's to the power of 3, then you times it out 3 times. For example, if it was 2 to the power of 3, it would be 2 times 2 times 2. But because it's 5y to the power of 3 and it's in brackets, so that 3 belongs to 5 and the y. If there was no brackets, it would just belong to the y, but it belongs to all 3 of them. So you do 5y times 5y times 5y. And then 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. So it's 125. And then y times y times y is y cubed. So it's 125y cubed. This next question, 1c, refers to the second rule. It's the division rule. Therefore, if you are dividing, then you minus the powers. So w to the power of 7 divided by w to the power of 4, you do the powers 7 and 4, so 7 minus 4, that is 3. So it's w to the power of 3, because they are the same letter. If they weren't the same letter, you would not be able to do this. However, because of the rules, they have the same letter. So when it's division, you minus the powers. Alright, now moving on to question 2. You can see you've got a to the power of 9 times a to the power of 4. Going back to rule 1, 9 plus 4 is 13. So it's a to the power of 13. Then going back to the other question because it's in the brackets to the power 3. The power 3 belongs to all of it. So the power 3 belongs to the 4, the b squared, and the c. If there was no brackets, the power 3 would just belong to that c. However, the power 3 belongs to all of the numbers and letters within the brackets. This means that you times them all 3 times. So you do 4b squared c times 4b squared c times 4b squared c. You can see 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64, so you've got 64. B squared times b squared is b to the power of 4, times b squared is b to the power of 6, because you know it's timesing, so you add the powers, going back to rule 1. And then c times c times c, so it's 3 lots of c's, so it's c3. And this goes back to rule 2. D to the power of 9 divided by d to the power of 4 is 9 minus 4. So it's d to the power of 5 as the final answer. So that's us looking over the basics of the rules and how they work. Now this now refers to rule 3 and 4. Write down the value of 5 to the power of minus 3. See how there's a minus there. And you see how in the rules we said anything to the power of minus is 1 over that value. Therefore, at first you forget, you act like the minus is not there. So 5 to the power of 3 is 125. And then because there's a minus there, it's then 1 over 125. This refers to rules 3 and 4. Alright, and now the next rule is anything to the power of 0 is 1. So 5 to the power of 0 is 1, the same as if it was 8 to the power of 0, 9 to the power of 0 is always 1. Then moving on to number 7, work out the values. This goes back to basic mathematics. So 5 squared is 25, 2 cubed is 8, 25 times 8. You could write this out on the side, or you could put this into your calculator if you're just going through this for revision. This is 200. Alright, moving on to slightly harder questions. We now have 3 to the power 4 times 3 to the power 5. And they want you to write it as a power of 3. This takes in rule 1 and rule 2, because you got 3 to the power 4 times 3 to the power 5. So that's rule 1. So you do 4 plus 5, which is 9. So you got 3 to the power of 9. And then because there's a division, so you now have 3 to the power of 9 minus, because division there, 3 to the power of 2. So when you divide it, you minus the powers, so 9 minus 2, that is 3 to the power of 7. It now says write down the value of 3 to the power of minus 3. So we came across this sort of question before. At first, you act as if the minus isn't there. So 3 to the power of 3 is 9. And then because of the rule, it's then 1 over 9. Because if there's ever a minus, when simplifying and doing powers, you do 1 over it. So 3 times 3 times 3, it's not 9, it's 27. And then 27, 1 over 27. Question C now. Write down the value. Moving on to something harder. 23. You got px, p to the power of 9 times p to the power of 5 equals px. Write down the value of x. So remember rule 1. If it's times, you add the powers. 9 plus 5 is 14. So p to the power of 14 equals p to the power of x. So x is 14. Next one says write down the reciprocal of 1 over 3. The reciprocal of any number is the reverse of it. So reciprocal of 1 over 3 is 3. Same as if it was 1 over 9, it would be 9. If it was 1 over 7, it would be 7. It's the reverse of the number. You could also go backwards, so the reciprocal is 4, is 1 over 4. And now, moving on to question 24. This is one of the harder sort of questions you'd get at 25. In an exam paper, it's really bringing a lot of your knowledge together, especially rule number 2, about when there's division, you minus the powers. So you see 10 and 4, they can be divided and broken down. You can divide it by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then remember about the minus rule. P to the power of 3 divided by p to the power of 3. Because 3 minus 3 is 0, it completely goes. So the p to the power of 3 is go. And then the next question, I need to put an R in there. Because you've got, now it's another minus. That goes, because you do p to the power 6 minus p to the power 5. Because there's 5 minus 6 minus 5. The q stays at the bottom. So, and then r, you have no r at the bottom, so you're left with 5r over 2q. If you guys had any problems when going over these sort of exam questions, I'd recommend for you to re-go over it and particularly pause and then re-look over it. And if you are still struggling at all, then just put a comment down in the comment box, and then I can reply to it, or could make a video on looking over it. Thank you.